Hi, Jules here, and today I'm joined by Matt Nunn, the founder of Nunn Media, the largest independent advertising agency in Australia. And he's someone who's built an incredible business from the ground up, and he's got a wealth of insight into growth, leadership, and what it really takes to succeed. So Matt, thank you for joining me. Welcome.
Thanks for that introduction. I'm not sure I can fulfill all that, but I'll try.
Now, Matt, I wanted to start back when you were younger. Now, I know you played basketball. I think you started around the age of 10, and then you got a scholarship and you went to the States. But you didn't stay at the States. What happened there? Why did you come back?
I was there for about a year, I think. But I went to a small school and I had some very unusual experiences there, which I think were good in some ways, but bad in others. But the situation wasn't great from the school standpoint. But I stayed there for a year, and I just thought at that particular time, just from a basketball point of view, and probably more a personal point of view, it probably wasn't the right situation. So I came back to Australia.
And when you came back, though, you didn't continue with basketball at the same level. Isn't that around the time when you went to, I know you still played for the minors, I think it was, but then you started working for, like, in marketing. How did that come about?
Well, I did play, but I went back to school and got my degree. So I, similar to you, I've got a Bachelor of Education in Physical Education. So that's something that I really love, teaching kids physical education. So that was always my dream job. So I finished that course. But then literally as I was about to graduate, given that I played basketball for Ballarat and the major sponsor was Win Television, and I knew everybody in town, the general manager literally knocked on my door and said, "Listen, you know everybody, how about you sell them advertising?" And at the time, I think a PE teacher made $25,000 a year.
It wasn't a lot.
Wasn't a lot. And then this job paid $40,000 a year, and I got a car and bonuses and incentives. So I thought, why wouldn't I give it a go? I didn't know what I was doing, but so I took the job.
And how long were you in advertising before you decided to start your own company? And what was it that prompted you to go, I'm going to go on my own, I'm going to do this?
Yeah. Well, I worked for Win Television in Ballarat and did pretty well. And I do remember my first day, I literally rocked up to work and they gave me the keys to the car, a client list and a budget. And they said, now go and get your budget. That was my training. So I literally took it upon myself to read every piece of literature, every book that I possibly could to understand what the hell I was trying to do. So I caught on pretty fast, and then I went to the Melbourne office, and then I went to GTV9, Channel 9 in Melbourne. And once again, I did pretty well as a salesperson there, selling advertising. And at that particular time, we had the Today Show and Midday with Mike Walsh and what have you, and they rated more than primetime programs do now. Literally, if you threw some ads on TV, it literally was a gold mine for the advertisers most of the time. But after about 2 or 3 years, I was a little bit bored. I wasn't challenged by it. So I was offered by one of my clients, who was a media agency, to literally go into business with him, work with him for a year, and then, if it all worked out, be a partner within the business. So I thought that sounds like a challenge. So I went with it. So I left Channel 9, went there, and after probably about 12, 18 months, I thought, you know what? I don't think I want to be partners with anybody. I want to do it myself for different reasons. So I literally, after working with him for a couple of years, I literally went on my own. And at that particular stage, it was really hard to get accreditation, because what you had to do financially was to guarantee the debt of your clients. So if your clients didn't pay you, and you're dealing in hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars, you had to basically prove that you could pay the bill. And that was the accreditation scheme back in those days. So I think I begged, borrowed and steal, put my house on the line, put everything on the line just to get accreditation. So at the stage, I think I was the youngest person ever to get accreditation, but literally it was a bit of a struggle to get there. So I took a few risks, and that's kind of how I got started in my own business, which was nearly 25 years ago.
would you say that was the biggest challenge you faced going out on your own? Was the cash flow essentially?
I think that was an easier challenge because I didn't have very many commitments. I don't think I had any, didn't have any kids at that stage and didn't have a whole lot of commitments. So I didn't think that was a big challenge necessarily. But probably the biggest challenge, if that's the question, was probably about 8 years down the track, and I developed the business. It was very profitable. We had some good clients. Probably had about eight or ten staff at the time, and our biggest client was Clive Peters. It was a great family business and what have you, and they expanded, and they'd had some controversy within the business from an employee who stole money. But what had actually happened is the client, unbeknownst to me, went into liquidation and what have you. And in our business, but going back to the accreditation, we got audited every 12 months. And at that audit, you had to prove your financial viability. So I think this was about on June the 15th, literally, and the audit is at June 30. And this client's gone under owing me a couple of $1 million. So literally, I had 14 days to get my shit together to work out how I could find a solution to the problem. And what made matters a little bit worse, I was in the middle of building a house. I had all my money tied up in a new house. So I didn't have liquidity necessarily to cover. So I had to quickly find an investor to come into the business as a minority shareholder. But I think it was about on the 21st, 22nd, and at that stage I was doing triathlons. And I actually, for 6 months, the swim coach, Johnny Van, was saying, you're weak, why are you stopping? And I had this really bad pain in my stomach, and every month I'd go to the doctor and they'd give me antibiotics. And they said, we don't know what it is, but just take this. Anyway, it turns out I had appendicitis for 6 months. And literally on the 20th or 21st of June, my appendix burst.
Oh, no.
So it was a bit of a situation where, I had to find an investor, had 14 days, appendix burst, I'm in hospital, emergency surgery. And anyway, so I was in touch with a couple of people, friends of mine, and they introduced me to and organised a meeting to go and meet Tony Gandel, whose family had investment within Chadstone and various other things. And literally, I got out of hospital, and it was a few days before the end of June. I went home, put on a suit, put on a white shirt, and then I was flying to the meeting, and then I looked down and I had blood oozing out of, and it was all over the white shirt. And I'm thinking, oh my God, what am I going to do? I can't go to a meeting with. So I turned back around, and to the quick thinking of my wife, she grabbed a certain hygiene product and slapped it on my wound, and then I went off to the meeting, and the rest was history. We had an investment from Tony, and it sort of covered our accreditation worries at that time, and we've been sort of best friends ever since. So it was a really good sort of outcome. So I think some things are supposed to happen in life, and that was just one of them.
Wow. Okay, so my next question was going to be, can you tell me a moment when everything felt like it was falling apart? But I reckon that's got to be it.
That's probably it.
Yeah. And do you, in terms of that, I mean, even on a day-to-day basis, how do you handle stress? Is there something mantras or self-talk? Is there some way you help yourself get through that if you've got any worries?
Well, I think particularly with me as I got older, when I was younger, I was very excitable when good things happened, but when bad things happened, I'd be down, and I sort of was very up and down. And I think after a while, you sort of clone yourself not to be too high or too low, and just have sort of a moderate middle ground. So from a stress standpoint, I think I handle stress really well. So I'm not the type of person that stresses out about things, or if I do, it's probably something pretty major. So it's probably just the experience and the confidence from decision making that's happened previous, and at the end of the day, you got 2 arms and 2 legs, and if you've still got them and you're still healthy, things aren't too bad. So I kind of put things in perspective a fair bit too. And a lot of people who do get stressed, I do tell them that, and they don't like it. But that's how I think of it anyway.
Yeah, and I hear myself telling my kids the same thing, but then when James, my husband, tells me that, I'm like, come on, I need a little empathy, a bit of support. But you're very right. It's all about perspective, and we're very, very blessed. So
Yeah.
I know that you're still coaching out at Knox. I'm wondering, are there any lessons that have transferred from you as a coach to you in the business world and vice versa between basketball and running a business?
Oh, 100%, 100%. I think for people that have played competitive sport, and I like to employ people that have, because, as a sports person, you've got to be disciplined with your training. You've got to understand how to prioritize things. And I think, and resilience, and confidence, so you get to learn all these things within the game with sport, particularly the higher you go, the more priorities and resilience sort of happen, and, just injury, and got a couple of boys that are sort of higher level athletes in college and basketball out here, and they've had injuries and what have you. And once again, I think you've got to put it in perspective, but as a sports person, I think you're tailor-made to be a good business person in a lot of ways. But then I think equally, you can, from a business standpoint, I think you can add a lot of structure and process and goal setting, where athletes notoriously probably aren't good at that. So I think that's where I've been able to structure process and systems and put them into basketball, with my coaching. So equally, I think, one world affects the other and vice versa.
Do you think that persistence and resilience can be taught, though, or is that something that's just innate in someone?
Interesting question. I mean, I think it can be, but I think the problem we have, or problem parents have these days, we protect them too much. So from a sporting standpoint, every parent wants little Johnny to make the team and little Johnny to kick the goal or bounce the ball or whatever it is, to win the race, and the reality is that's not how the world works. People win, people lose, people get the job, people get fired, people make teams, people are the stars, people are role players. So I think we set kids up in life when we try to protect them, and they have to experience failure, and from failure they learn or don't learn the lesson, so next time they're in that situation they can potentially succeed. So for me, that's probably where it's at.
And do you think you were good at that? Did you build on your failures? Did you?
Yeah, definitely. And I think that relates back to your question about stress. Given that there's not too much I haven't seen, I can calmly think if something may raise somebody at 80%, it might raise me at 20%, because I've been there before, and I know I'm not going to die, and I know that I'm confident in my decision making to make the right decision. Doesn't always work out that way, but I think that's the mindset that I have.
I hope you enjoyed part 1 of my conversation with Matt Nunn. If something in this episode resonated with you, whether it was Matt's tenacity in building his company or his reflections on what it takes to build strong teams in business or sport, feel free to share it with someone who might appreciate the conversation. And if you haven't already, please hit follow or subscribe on your favourite podcast platform so you don't miss future episodes, including part 2 of this one. Until next time.